not being complicit in what is going on. Because, mind you, it was discovered also that recently that the NNPC had invested 50 billion naira in setting up a central monitoring center, so that they have a bird's eye view of the entire pipelines of the NNPC, across Nigeria. Now, so the question now becomes, with this investment and this technology, how come this is able to go on, not for a month, not for 2 months? Because if you say, okay, technology shut down maybe for a couple of weeks and before they fixed it, this happened, we may understand. But we're talking about 9 years. What do you say to that, Igo?
You see, when agents of government talks about putting in place technology to monitor, safeguard, and provide any form of security, I do not believe and trust them. Now, if the NNPC has put in place a central system to monitor pipelines in Nigeria, so how come the theft persisted for this period of time? Is it not the same money that is put in turnaround maintenance that you don't see anything? Nigeria is a case of the more you look, the less you see. Government tells you they have put billions of naira here, and that very shortly we are going to find the results. So they raise your hope only to just smash it on the ground, nothing happens. That is what has happened with this so-called NNPC, Central Monitoring System, that they put in place to monitor who are involved in the massive stealing of Nigerian oil and gas resources, are not aliens from nowhere. They are Nigerians who have been able to construct massive pipes over long distances to steal these oil assets that Nigeria has. So it's an interesting revelation. I would have expected that by now, beyond just uncovering these pipelines, 30 persons would have been arrested. And there are people who constructed these pipes to steal the oil. Who are these individuals? What is the role and duty of the police, the civil defense, and the DSS in investigating, security threats to Nigeria as a country? Because when you steal the nation's assets, that is a direct national security threat. And I thought that the DSS would have moved in by now to take people in, and then we'll be talking about prosecuting people.
I like what you touched on now about prosecution, arrest being made. Now, generally, because when these discoveries were made, initially the alarm was raised when the contract with the private security firm, Tantiata, was made public, 48 billion naira security. There was an alarm, it was the topic of discourse generally across media houses. But I would have expected that when these discoveries and the level, the scale, the gargantuan scale, that I expected the federal government to have set up a judicial probe of inquiry. Heads should have been rolling, or should have rolled, and arrests should have been made, and all of that. But there is nothing of such going on, at least publicly. What do you say to that, Igo?
See, nobody is going to get arrested in a congregation of thieves and criminals. Who will arrest who? The government is responsible for the management of national assets and resources. And under the government's watch, there's pillaging and leakages and hemorrhaging of these resources. And the government tells you they don't know who is doing it, who is responsible for it.
Sorry to butt in. This is beyond pillaging and looting of resources now. This is economic sabotage. Yeah. Like I said, the word I use is the scale. This is, our OPEC quota for daily production
which is 1.8. Yeah, 1.8. Ordinarily it should be 2 million.
It should have been actually about 2.5, but let's say 1.8. That's the OPEC benchmark for Nigeria, daily output. Half of that, because expert reports show that what has been lost in the last number of years, decade thereabouts, is between 500,000 barrels per day to 750,000 barrels per day. Yeah. This has been going on into private hands
for years.
So this is beyond a director in the civil service or someone stealing 10 billion. We're talking of dollars, billions of dollars. Yeah. Some estimates put it at 40 billion in 10 years. Some put it at 29 billion in 6 years. So, like I said again, Igo, please help Nigerians. I expected a judicial commission of inquiry to have been set up I expected arrests to have been made, you know, and this matter shouldn't be something that will have just, because gradually it's petering out.
Yes, that's let me just weigh in here. You see, yes, what you have said is the right thing to do. My worry is that does the government have the political will, the wherewithal to do it? And whether this government likes it or not. It didn't just start with the Buhari government anyway. Absolutely. It must have started, you know, way behind.
Yeah, of course, if they're saying 10 years, 10 years is way beyond the Buhari's
maybe from, of course, don't forget that when Yar'Adua was in power,
there was a gap, there was a lacuna.
The movement for the emancipation of Niger Delta and other military groups were very active. At that point, oil quota, our quota at OPEC dropped to about 700, 800,000 barrels a day until Yar'Adua weighed in, granted amnesty and all of that, and then the thing moved back. Now, the militants, you know, enjoy some kind of palliative to the presidential amnesty program, PAP, and the quota, the quota rose up. Now, between then and some years back, I think some individuals